In ancient Rome, it was the custom for military personnel to ask civilians to carry their baggage for them. Because soldiers had to carry a weight for kilometers long. So it was the law in the Roman Empire that if a soldier would approach you, a civilian, and ask you to carry his package, you were not allowed to refuse. Because to do that would be going against the empire and you would be committing a criminal offense. So you had no choice but to stop whatever you were doing to carry the weight of that soldier. Now, there is a catch to this. The soldier was only allowed to place his weight on you for 1 Roman mile. Just 1 Roman mile he was allowed to put his burden on you. If he continued to put that burden on you after 1 mile and the officers found out, he would be in big trouble. Why? Because longer than a Roman mile, you would be exhausted. And if this happens, the soldier is abusing you. So, according to the Roman Empire, a soldier was permitted to ask you to carry his weight, which actually he shouldn't even do because he's the one that became a soldier, not you. So it was an unjust situation, but according to law, it was permitted. But it wasn't allowed to allow you to do it longer than a mile. So when Christ told his disciples, if someone presses you, that means someone from the military, to go 1 mile, go 2 with him. Now this would have sounded very, how do I say, dumb when people hear this. Because people were thinking, oh Christ, are you kidding us? We have to allow those soldiers to disturb us in our daily lives, putting their physical weight on us because they don't want to do it themselves. Christ did not justify the situation. Christ was saying, go an extra mile. Here's what happens when you go an extra mile. Let me give an illustration. You have Antonius, a soldier, who arrives in, let me say, in Judea. And he sees Simon over there and tells Simon, here, carry my baggage. Simon says, okay, sir, I carry it. The soldier needs to go to a naval base in Egypt. But he's not allowed to take the ship. He doesn't have the money, so he has to go by land. So he has the custom to just pick random civilians to put his weight on. So now we encounter Simon, and Simon has to carry his weight. So after around 20 minutes, the soldier realized he needs to take back his package. But then Simon said, no, sir, I'm here to serve you. You're a soldier of the Roman Empire. You're defending our borders. I need to serve you. And then what's going to happen? Eventually Simon would collapse under the weight of that soldier. And this will likely happen somewhere in public, because the Roman roads were public roads also. So what happens after Simon collapsed? The people are going to think, what is this? And then they're going to say, it's one of those soldiers again that forced him to carry his weight. And if this happens, the people are going to think, okay, why doesn't Caesar provide better supplies for his troops? I mean, they are the Roman Empire, right? They are the ones governing the world, so why can't they build better provisions for the troops? Why is it us, the civilians, have to be burdened? And when this happens, people's eyes are going to open and they're going to notice the injustice. And now, the Roman authorities are forced to take actions to rectify the situation. So, what Christ was teaching us with going the extra mile is not to agree nor condone unjust situations. Christ taught us that there are times you have to put up with an unjust situation just so that the unjust situation will destroy itself. Because all evil is self-destructive. So if there is negativity going on, negativity is self-destructive anyway. And because you walk by faith, you have the ability to endure and outdo the evil that comes against you. So whenever some psychic attack comes, for example, you endure, you keep enduring. Let's say that you about to apply for a job, but due to psychic violence, you never get a job. So you keep applying. So eventually deciding, what, I'm going to apply for 30 jobs a week throughout the country. And I have the interest, so I can do it. So after about 3 months, over 80 corporations have received applications from you. So now you have many people throughout the country that know about your existence and that you're looking for a job. And then some of those people know each other. For example, you may have an intern that works at company A that knows people from company B, and they talk to one another and find out that they had someone applying for a job. And then the intern says, yeah, he applied with us also. And before you know it, within 5 months, throughout the country, in the business world, people are thinking, hold on a minute, how come this guy, he has his degrees, he has experience, but he can't get a job? So now the situation becomes very weird. And now even the people that declined you a job cannot explain why they declined you. So now the situation will become very awkward. And because the situation is so awkward, the people have no choice but to comply in your favor. So what you're doing is, you are seeing the situation for what it is, but you're exhausting the situation so that you, as well as those around you, will get out unharmed. It's not just about you getting out of a bad situation. It's about limiting the losses that the evil would bring. You get it? So, going the extra mile implies exhausting an unjust situation so that the injustice is exposed openly for what it is. And this exposure will have such a psychological impact on the population that people will not be able to relieve themselves anymore, but now they have to do something about the situation for the better. Now, there are those that will persist in the self-destruction, but that's them. There are times you need to go the extra mile. It can be that you have a mother-in-law, for example. I'm just giving an example now, and she tends to be a bit controlling, and you're fed up with it. But you realize, you know what, it's my mother-in-law, and my children I want to have a grandmother, so you put up with her to some extent. You don't allow her to control you, but you put up with her controlling issue. And after a while, your wife realizes that her mother tends to go too far. And now the wife says, you know what, dear, we may not have to visit our mother that often, because I see what she's doing to you. That's not correct. Now, are you playing the victim? No. If you would have said, you know what, we're not coming here anymore, we are breaking all contact just like that, then your mother-in-law would play the victim and you would be seen as a perpetrator. If you would have done that, now the children are going to ask questions also, thinking, what's going on? If you would have remained silent and just embraced the situation, it would have continued at your expense and the expense of others. So what did you do? You went the extra mile. And by going the extra mile, that means you tolerated it in a constructive way, not tolerate in the sense that you're fleeing, you just allow it to happen unchallenged. You challenge the situation in a constructive manner in which the injustice or the defect became so obvious that people realized it had to stop. So going the extra mile is a way to counter evil in a community. And it's time for believers to do that. There's one more thing I want to say before I close this recording. Revolutionaries seldom win. Go through human history. Go through all the revolutions, modern revolutions, ancient revolutions. Revolutionaries seldom win. Here's why. revolutionaries are so excited, they're so agitated to fight an injustice that they don't consider what they will replace injustice with. For example, during the 1780s, you had the French people, mainly the French wealthy people who were fed up with the Bourbon dynasty, and they became agitated against the king. And eventually they managed to get rid of the king. But what did they replace the Kingdom of France with? There was a republic, but what did the republic have to offer? It ended up in a situation of self-genocide, which spread throughout Europe. So the situation got completely out of hand, and eventually they ended up with Napoleon, who drank them far more than the Bourbon dynasty did. And Napoleon even drank the rest of Europe also. So what happened here? The revolutionaries were agitated against a situation that was bad, but they had nothing better to replace the bad with. So they fought against the bad very hard, very agitated, so the bad was gone, but now they're left with the tension of fighting the bad, and the tension that linked around caused other harm. Well, if you go the extra mile, you don't go hard against the injustice. You go like this. Then, suddenly, then you wait a little, and before you know it, the injustice fades, and you're left there at ease. But revolutionaries, they go hard, and it works, but with many side effects for them. Revolutionaries seldom win. Groups that won for their interests, for their aims in history, were those that examined the situation and those that took constructive actions. So going the extra mile simply means taking constructive actions so that both you and those involved can get out of the situation unharmed. Now, realistically speaking, that will not always happen. Just make sure you're not trapped by the evil you're fighting. Because that is what happens when you keep fighting evil, you become trapped by the thing you're fighting. Overcome, overrule, and outdo evil with good. That's what we ought to do. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.